Alors, in today's video, I'm going to go through how I use the Reverso Context app on both my phone and on the computer to get more reliable translations from English to French and from French to English. If your main tool at the moment is still Google Translate or something like DeepL, which relies on machine translation, then you may want to consider switching to something like Reverso, or at least adding it to your arsenal. So, if you're interested to see how exactly I use Reverso on a daily basis to translate from English to French and vice versa, keep on watching. Allez, c'est parti! Salut tout le monde, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Alex, and every single week I give you tips on how to learn the real French that's spoken in France every single day. So subscribe right now to stay up to date with all my future content. Just a note before we get started, this is in no way a sponsored video. I simply want to introduce you to one of the tools that I use on a daily basis, probably 100 times a week, to get more reliable translations between French and English. Alors, Reverso, or more precisely, the context feature of the Reverso language platform, which, as it is so powerful, has its own mobile app. And for the purposes of this video, I'm going to show you the examples on the mobile app, but you get the exact same results and probably more features on the browser version on the computer. And like any app that you use on a daily basis, it has a special place on the dock on the bottom of every screen on my phone, which I will show you if I can get to my phone to focus here. You can see it's a little sort of two arrows, red and blue, and that means any page I go to on my phone, it is there for quick and easy access. Well, why is it called context? Well, the clue is actually in the name. What it does is, whenever you search for a word or a phrase, it will do its very best to show you that word or entire phrase in one piece, in the context from the real world material in which it's found, in both the source language and the target language. So I'm going to show you in a second exactly what I mean, but having this feature of showing you the translation in context and from real world materials like films, documents, websites, books that they've digitized gives me a world of confidence when it comes to choosing a reliable translation to use in my conversations or in my writing. And they're certainly much more likely to be correct than if I got it from a machine translation like Google Translate. So to give you an introduction into how I use Reverso, I'm going to go through a few different searches that I could potentially put in, and then how I would know how reliably I could use that translation that it gives me in my writing or my speaking. So I'm going to start off showing you a search based on a single word, because that's going to give me the results that I can have the most confidence using in French. So let's launch Reverso. And then I'm going to search for earlobe. As you can see, I've already tested this before. And if it comes up in the auto suggestions, that's a very, very good sign that you're going to find the results you want. So we can tap on the auto suggestion or hit enter. And we can see, first of all, at the top here, we have the translations of the word you've searched. And I think they're in order of popularity. So by default, I get 20 translations here in context. So you see sentences like jewelry accessory, in particular for the earlobe. And in the French translation, it comes up with l'aube or l'aube d'oreille. L'aube d'oreille, so that's the first and the second translations. And then based on how many times one of them appears in the search results determines how much confidence I personally will have in choosing that and using that in my conversation. So, and also based on your knowledge of French, you will be more or less confident in how to use a term. So I'm very confident in French, and I can use common sense and the logic that I've built up to know that it's going to be l'aube d'oreille. But in some cases, just like in English, if perhaps you have been speaking about ears or the face, or you're pointing to your ear when you're talking about it, I imagine you could say mon lobe or un lobe. You could get away with just saying lobe, just like in English, you know? So not only can you be more confident with the translations because Reverso gives them to you in context, it gives you 20 results in the context of different conversations or texts. So this can really help you to make up your own mind and really go and use this stuff right away without hesitating when you use them. Okay, let's try something a little bit more complex. Last week for an Instagram story, I needed to look up punctuation marks. By the way, guys, if you're not following me already on Instagram, I post every single day something related to the theme of the week. So go ahead and follow me. The link is down in the description. But anyway, I needed to use punctuation mark in French and I wanted to be sure about the translation. So I came over to Reverso and I searched for punctuation mark. You can see it's already here. So I'll just tap it in my history. So from this list of search results, I can see that signe de ponctuation occurs 1, 2, 3, 4. Bref, it appears 13 out of the 20 times. So I can be fairly confident that it's the correct translation. Of course, it might not be, and I might get one of those beady-eyed French people who are following me on Instagram tell me that I'm wrong. But I love the fact that this is all in context and this gives me enough confidence to go and choose it. Had I just used Google Translate, where it only gives me one result, then I would be more nervous, because that's just who I am. I'd be more nervous that it wasn't correct. I like to feel in myself that I've done the bare minimum in my mind to look up and get the most reliable translation. Plus, things that are in context of real world materials, such as dialogues from films or sentences from books, are always going to be more trustworthy. They're always going to beat a machine translation. But if I wanted to be extra confident and turn that confidence I had from 13 out of 20 results to feeling like it was more like an 18, I would put it into Google, I would put it into DeepL, and that would hopefully back up the answer given to me by Reverso. Okay, what about a word in the other direction? Something that you've seen or heard in French with little or no context and you want to know what it means. How do you go about doing that? Well, you go back to the home screen, you switch the direction of the languages, and this word I'm going to look up is autant. Autant. Now I heard this, didn't know what it meant, so I wanted to look it up. So I can tap it in the suggestions. And you can see here, the most common suggestions are haughty, arrogant, snooty, supercilious, dismissive, and stuck up. So I've heard of haughty, arrogant, snooty, dismissive, stuck up. I've never heard of supercilious, so I would never use that. So what I would do here is, I would choose the word to me that I'd feel most comfortable with, which is, in this case, stuck up. Especially in informal situations. If I said haughty, people would look at me funny. And so it's not very common in these results, but I know from my experience that the direct translations from French to English tend to show me more old-fashioned, more posh words in English that I wouldn't use. So I would go to haughty in my dictionary, in my English dictionary, in this case on Google, and I would see its definition. It comes up as arrogantly superior and disdainful, something that I would link with stuck up. And in fact, stuck up appears in the list of synonyms here in the Google dictionary. So that gives me the confidence I need to go, and now if I want to call someone stuck up in French, I'm going to say that they're autant, autant, because I think of stuck up and I link it to autant. But you see how you shouldn't just automatically go for the top result. You need to use your common sense, you need to use your knowledge of both languages. Sometimes I look stuff up in English and it just won't give me anything concrete in French. So I have to break it up into smaller chunks until I can figure out what it would be in French. And sometimes you can pass something in which gives you a direct answer, often many times, and you can make the mistake of using it because based on what I've just told you, the more common it is in the search results, the more confident you can be of it being correct. But sometimes that still sounds weird to natives, you know, it's just the way it is. The other day I wanted to say steep learning curve in French because I couldn't think of a different way or a better way or a more straightforward way to say it in French. So I looked it up on Reverso and I get this term, une courbe d'apprentissage abrupte. Une courbe d'apprentissage abrupte. And apparently this just isn't correct because the person to whom I was speaking just sort of frowned and grimaced and was like, what do you mean? And it turns out that the best one and the one which she was very comfortable with is un long apprentissage. Un long apprentissage. That could be because genuinely Reverso was wrong, or that the person I was talking to just really wasn't familiar with that term. That's also possible, because even though they're natives of the language, they're not going to know everything about the language. Something that's super common to us in English or in whatever your mother tongue is, isn't necessarily as common in French. So it's definitely a balancing act that you have to play with these translation tools, but I've never been more confident with the translations I get using Reverso compared with other tools. So it's not perfect, but it's what I use every day, and to be honest, it is the best I've found. There are far more features that I haven't gone into today and that I don't even use, but things like creating flashcards from the translations you search for is a really powerful feature, and I think that could help a lot of you with your daily study. But I want to hear from you. What translation tools do you use, and would you recommend me checking any of them out? Do let me know in the comments below. Hey, ça rime. Bon, c'est fini. J'espère que cette vidéo vous a plu. If you enjoyed it, drop it a like. If you're new around here, subscribe to make sure you stay up to date to all the future content. At the time of recording, I'm close to 1,000 subscribers, and you'll want to be part of the community because I've got a special video coming, as well as a Q&A video and a video entirely in French that I will do when I hit that big milestone. Anyway, merci beaucoup de regarder, everyone. À la prochaine. Ciao.